Hi there, today we're going to be building what I believe to be the best starter house design that I've ever managed to come up with at least. If you have any ideas for improvements, please make sure to leave it in the comments. It's going to help me a lot as well as potentially anyone who watches this video.
Let's go!
But without further ado, let's begin. It all starts by digging a 3x3 hole in the wall. Now you're going to want to make sure that you dig out another 3 blocks deep. This way, if you exclude this outer part, we're going to have a 3x3 block space inside here. I've done it like this just to make it a little bit easier to follow.
Okay.
Now you want to come inside here and actually turn this into a 5x5 block space, which when it's done should look something like this. This is going to be the lobby area. It's going to make a lot more sense in a few seconds. But before we move on too quickly, we're also going to need to tear the floor out quick and replace that with, well, I like using cobblestone. As you can see, there's going to be a general theme going throughout this build of us using basic materials because, well, this is a starter house. Now, before we get too carried away with building the interior, I quickly want to tear this outside part out again. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to place a few spruce planks on the sides. That's going to allow me to fill this area up with trapdoors. And then, well, because I'm in creative, I can do this, but I'm going to break the 2 middle ones and flip these up. That's going to make a little bit of a wall for us. And then I can just come in here and place a door over here. And now we have a fancy little entrance that's like positioned 1 block inwards.
Nice.
This is quite important because now we can come over here and we still have enough room to place details like stairs in. We can also place a trapdoor in between just to give it a more round effect. And then you have a very cozy entrance for your starter base. Now, if you want to keep it as basic as possible, you can leave this floor exactly as is. I'd like to go for a slightly cozier feel, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this floor down by 1 block and I'll place a stair over here, which then gives us this little cozy interior spot. Now that we're in here, we can quickly just fill the walls with some spruce planks. Also, let me just say, I'm using spruce planks. The whole point of this is to use 1 wood type, so you can use whichever wood you have. And also notice how we aren't even digging into the wall anymore. We don't need a whole lot of space in this lobby section. What I am, however, going to do is I'm going to break the roof out and replace this with spruce planks as well, which when we're done should look something like this.
Alright.
Yeah, not the worst hole in the mountain if I do say so myself. But don't worry, there's a lot more to it. For instance, what we're going to do when we get inside here is we're going to start by digging a little bit of a tunnel out in each direction. However, it's not actually a full tunnel because these are just doorways leading to the next rooms. And just by placing a stair down here, we can once again change the height of the interior just to make it feel a little bit better. And we can also place a stair up here just to give us a little bit of a transition into the next room. Now, as a general rule of thumb, I enjoy leaving at least like 2 blocks of space between the next room. That way, if I do ever need to go into the wall here, I can. And now we're going to be digging out a 7x7 block hole in each of these areas, which should leave you with a relatively large area in each room. Now, to get these rooms started off, we're keeping it simple and we're just going to replace the floor with cobblestone. And as for the walls, we're just going to be adding a layer of spruce planks in here, which should look something like this when you're done. It's actually quite spacious for a starter base. And as we know from the lobby area, we're also going to be replacing the ceiling with spruce planks as well. Yeah, now you just want to make sure you remember to do this in each room as well. Now, before we move on too quickly, I'm just adding a few torches in here so that you can hopefully see a little bit better. I also like the idea of adding a little cubby hole in the walls just like that and then slapping a torch in here as well, just like this. That way we're still using basic materials like torches, but this entire space is properly lit up. Now, one of the things I love about this space is as you enter, you can see there really is a big difference in the heights. So again, if that's something you want to do, you can do that. If not, then just make it all flat. That's cool too. But now, the reason I was adamant about building this lobby area is because it's going to allow us to place a few essential blocks in here that we're basically always going to need in the early parts of our survival world. So we'll be able to include like a chest and a few furnaces in here just for smelting purposes. And then we've also got a few barrels in here just to store the blocks we're going to use most frequently. That's just going to help make it a lot more convenient. Now, if you head to the room on the left first, over here, we're going to be able to take care of one of the biggest necessities of an early world, which is going to be storage. So in order to make this a little bit more efficient to use, what we're going to do is we're going to replace these 2 layers of blocks with spruce slabs. That will then allow us to come and just spam chests in all the way along this wall here, which we can then turn into double chests as well. And as you can see, because we have the slab on top of there, we can actually open the top chest, which you can then come and just place a stair in the corner with a trapdoor connected to the stair like this to make a little bit of an arch. And you can also carry that through onto the floor here, and then you've got a pretty cool arching detail around your storage. Not to mention, you've also got a ton of storage now. It would also be good practice to just add a few utility blocks in here as well, just for convenience. But now moving on to the room just next to that, which just so happens to be the middle room, we can come right up against the back wall here and just place a few barrels in this configuration, which looks something like that. That will allow us to place a few beds right up against there to make it look like we actually have a pretty cool bed frame type thing in here. If you haven't picked it up already, this is the bedroom. Now furthermore, we could just place a few carpets all around here to make it feel a little bit more cozy, and I always enjoy having my own set of chests in here just for the items that, well, I want to make a chest monster out of. But as we already know, it's always good practice to include a few utility blocks in here as well. But now moving on to the third room, this room's going to be incredibly important. It's not going to be incredibly fancy. What we're going to start off with is by just spamming a whole bunch of chests in here. We're going to place a few furnaces right in the middle of these chests as well, and then we're going to come right against the back wall here, and we're just going to dig a few blocks down, or well, however big or deep you want to make this hole at least. We're going to place ladders going all the way up just like that, and we're going to cover it with a trapdoor. Now once I put an item frame with a pick in here, you can probably understand what this entire room is going to be for. This is an entire room dedicated just to mining. So now as we enter the house, we have basic utility blocks just for convenience. We have a dedicated storage area in this room over here. We also have a bedroom where we can set our respawn point, extra storage and utility blocks as well just for convenience. And in the last room, we have an entire room dedicated just to mining and storing your ores and stones. However, there is one thing we are missing, and that's a sturdy food supply. But we still want to make it look nice, so what we're going to start with here is just making a nice little path going all the way to the edge of this, I guess, hill area here. And we're also going to divide it right down the middle like this, and then as it gets further away, we can just taper it out a bit. I'd also like to make it a little bit thicker here and there just so that it really does feel like a path. And then this next step serves two purposes. We're going to be placing a water source in there with a slab on the top half of that, and then a torch on top of that slab. This way we're going to have more than enough water for the farm, and we're lighting the outside area up here at the same time. And I've apparently decided I want my farm to be fairly big.
You serious?
So now all that's left to do is to just till all the soil around the house here, and then plant it with your go-to crop or whatever you have on hand. I'm using carrots because, let's be honest, that's going to look nice in the thumbnail. This outside area here is coming together quite nicely. However, it does feel like it's lacking something. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to experiment here with extending this part out a little bit. I have no idea how that's going to look. Personally, I like that quite a bit. It feels a little bit more reinforced, but I might also want to place a few stairs up there. Scratch that. I'm going to make this spruce, and scratch the spruce. I'm just going to place a few trapdoors all around here as well. I think what I'm also going to do is just extend the bottom part out, and then I'll also be placing a few trapdoors around this outside area over there, and I do like that quite a bit. Now furthermore, what we could do is we could just come over here and place a few trapdoors all around this area over here, and what this does is it kind of makes it look like a little bit of a planter. So I'm going to plant a few poppies in here with a dandelion as well. Then I'll also just be sprinkling in a little bit of short grass. You can just do this by using bone meal. I realize I'm in creative, and just like that we have a cozy little base. Thank you for watching my guide, and if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, and always remember, Jesus loves you.